their own. Couple. I think there's one in Milford, New Hampshire. I think they were planning. Was it? Did I hear that they were opening one up on the seacoast of New Hampshire? I'm not sure. So they have 2 or 3 locations now. But the main location is in downtown Manchester, off of Elm Street. And Donald Trump was in there a few days ago after a campaign event, getting some greasy spoon grub. Great, if you're ever in Manch, I don't know how Manchester got the nickname Manch Vegas, but that's what they call it, Manch Vegas. That's its nickname. There's no gambling there, so there's hardly, quite frankly, really in New Hampshire, there isn't much of a real nightlife scene. I mean, there's a little bit, but it's for the state's largest city. Well, I guess it's kind of. You get small states, small cities. It's not going to have much of a nightlife. See, not what big city people are expecting. But you would think that all of this stuff that's happening in this state, that Donald Trump would be, so welcome. But there are people here that follow this liberal mantra and mindset that Trump is a racist. I'm like, are you kidding me? How could they? Because he said, look, I've pointed this out I don't know how many times. Trump is not saying anything different that some Democratic presidents haven't done in the past. And which is why I don't understand why some Republicans like Nikki Haley are out there bashing Trump for wanting to limit or put a hold on a certain group of people. Jimmy Carter did that back during the Iranian hostage crisis. In fact, Jimmy Carter booted some Iranians out of the country. But I don't hear a single Democrat or liberal Republican talking about how racist Jimmy Carter was for having such a policy. Why? Because it was a prudent thing to do at the time. Look, we have all this revisionist history going on in our country about our own country's history. But interestingly enough, one of the dark parts of our country's history is not being touched or revised at all. And that's the World War II Japanese American, Asian American internment. The liberals aren't touching that. Why? Because to some degree, keeping an eye on certain groups of Asian Americans at the time was prudent. Now, I'm looking back and thinking, well, maybe the best way to do it wasn't to round up every single Asian American, Japanese American in the country and put them in internment camps. That's kind of unconstitutional, but it was wartime. But wanting to keep an eye on certain aspects of that community was very prudent. So why is it that Democrats can do something like that? As Donald Trump isn't talking about rounding up every Muslim or every Arab or every Syrian and putting them in an internment camp. But you would think that that's what he's calling for. But he isn't talking about anything differently than some of the Democrats have done in our nation's recent history. 951, you're on the Rod Eccles Show. What's on your mind? Go. Hello, 951. Well, I guess they don't want to talk. It's. Look, you got, and now because he's saying that we should keep an eye on certain Muslims or certain Arabs, certain Persians. By the way, people are wondering, why is it that the Saudis and the Iranians are going after each other? It goes beyond being Shia, the different factions of Muslim. one being Shia and one being not. It really goes to the fact that Iranians are not really Arabic, they're Persian. The Saudis are really Arab or Moorish. They have been warring against each other far longer than Islam has been around. So the whole divide goes back farther than that. Look, those people have been at war with each other for centuries. Centuries before Muhammad. How do you think Muhammad actually came about? It wasn't because it was born out of a sense of peace and unification in the Middle East. He was born out of war. His beliefs were born out of war. Plain and simple. I mean, Arabs and Persians, they don't get along. They haven't gotten along for eons. So they kind of look, if you actually look at it, no, they really don't look a lot alike as far the ethnic diversity or the ethnic similarities are not there between Persians and Arabs. Yeah, they're human beings, you get all that kind of stuff, but there is a difference. There is a difference. Let's see if they're here again. 951, you're on the Rod Eccles Show. Go.
Good morning, Rod. My name is Sabina Durden, and I talked to one of your producers, Laura, previously. I lost my son to an illegal alien.
Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, and thanks for calling in. And you're saying you lost your son to, how long ago was that?
It was July 12th, 2012, so we're going on 4 years.
Well, that's still recent history. Okay.
Yes, pretty much.
I am truly sorry for your loss. It's a shame that we as American citizens have to go through such a thing and be afraid of people that should not even be here. What happened with your son in your son's case?
My son Dominic was a 911 dispatcher, and he was on his way to work on his motorcycle. And as he was driving down the street, he was cut off with a little red truck and killed instantly. And even though the shock was great and I didn't even know what happened at first, I was out of town. You get that horrible call that your child has been killed. It took me a while to realize before somebody told me that the driver of that truck was illegal from Guatemala. And then slowly but surely it came out that he had previous arrests. He had a felony. And he was deported once. He got to come back. Then he had the armed robbery and grand theft auto, which the DA in Riverside County, which is a sanctuary city, pleaded down to a lesser crime. So he only had one felony, which should be enough as a illegal with one felony, and you just get a little roadside cleanup duty, and then you get to go on with your life. Then he was arrested for drunk driving without a license, and he received probation. None of us could have any of those rights. We would still be in prison. I know I would be.
Yeah, drunk driving, they take that with a citizen, they take it. Yeah, one of the things is that I've heard people say is that a lot of times they let these illegal immigrants off because there's no money in it.
Right.
They can't extract.
Well, there's the life in it.
Yeah, So this guy was arrested numerous times on various criminal activity, and each time he was released back into U.S. streets freely. Which then led him
it gets even better, Rod. It gets better. So now he had already the first DUI, and he received probation, being a felon, illegal felon, and a couple months later he gets arrested again, drunk driving, without a license, without registration, without insurance. And guess what he got?
He got
probation. Again, while he was on probation for the first offense. And then 3 weeks later, he ran my son down and killed him instantly.
And where is this illegal now?
Well, he was arrested. He was put on ice hold for a moment where he bailed out for $10,000 cash. he arrogantly came back. The DA told us and advised us while we were still going through the shock, not to go to trial, but go, have a hearing. So we went in front of a traffic court judge who already had made a deal with this guy who came back and, no remorse, no nothing, never even said the word I'm sorry. Actually, he said, God gives life, God takes life, and he was only on his way to work. And the judge gave him a deal and gave him 9 months, 5-year probation, misdemeanor without gross negligence, and sent him to jail, where he was picked up by ICE and taken to a local immigration hold center. I befriended an ICE agent because we were just livid. How can you have all these crimes on your record, be illegal, and still get breaks while we're reeling and we have nothing? The restitution, I'll never see a dime of it because, he claims he has no money, but he had $10,000 to bail out. So he was in the ICE hold for a year and a half because my fiancé and I went there every week, relentlessly, talking to the judge, sending letters, and making sure that they have to do something right by us. So it took a year and a half, and then I got the call that the killer of my only child was sent back to Guatemala. However, he has his family here in Riverside. So I'm sure I'm going to see him again in the news, in the paper, because I know he's going to hurt somebody else.
Well, he'll probably be back. He'll probably cross over.
Oh, he probably is back already. Oh, yeah.
Now, this is the type of thing that really kind of ticks me off because this is happening more frequently lately. I'm sure
every day.
As you know, yes, you've heard stories because you're in that arena now because of your own being affected by it directly. But more and more Americans are being affected by this directly, and it's not just happening in what we would call the border states, like Texas and California.
No,
it's starting to happen everywhere. Now, somebody once told me this though, and I want to see if you agree with this. Somebody told me that. He asked a question. It was kind of a trick question. How many states in this country are border states? And I was trying to actually count the literal border states between, the seacoast and Mexico and Canada. And
right.
he relieved us all of our anguish trying to count the states. He said there's 50. And his reason is, and this is probably why you're right that he might be back in this country, is every state that has at least one international airport is a border state because people can come there from anywhere in the world and land at that airport and then enter this country. Well, that's a border.
Yep.
He's absolutely right. So, and I know for a fact that the TSA misses an awful lot of stuff and an awful lot of people. So he very well could have just picked up a plane flight, gotten a fake ID or something, and he's back in the country. So how do you think we can stop this kind of crap?
Well, I just know one thing. Before my son was killed, I was pretty naive to all of this. You see the guys on the side of the street across from Home Depot, and that's where this guy was heading to. There are guys standing across the street from the spot where my son took his last breath, and they are illegal, and they get to stand there and work under the table, and so I'm slowly but surely I started to learn what's really going on, and that is it's about votes, it's politics, it's about money, and our American citizens are being injured, harmed financially, physically, because of that. And in July, every July 12th, I have what I call the angelversary of my son's death. Instead of sitting home crying my eyes out, we have an open house. Yeah.
We have to go to a hard break. Can you hold on through the break and come back right
Absolutely.
after the break? Okay, folks, we're gonna get back with Sabine right after the break, and unfortunately, we do have to pay some bills here, so we're gonna try to do that, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
You want to know what time it is?
Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Sign him up for the Box of Bait Club. Again, the Box of Bait Club is a brand new dream come true for every fisherman. Something new and different in your tackle box every month. Every month, another excuse to get outside and do what you love. Don't let this one get away. The Box of Bait Club is currently accepting a limited number